So I figured we'd start off with some warm-up questions, right? Some quick hits. All right.
You know, when they say warm-up questions, the heavy stuff is coming later.
All right. This is a gun show, so favorite gun.
There's a Desert Eagle that I can't have. And it's like it's so pretty, but it's like it's law enforcement only. So now I got to get me a job as a cop.
All right. So you're a gun guy, and also you're a Hollywood guy. What's the latest show that you binged on?
Mayor of Kingstown.
Mayor of Kingstown. That's a good one. Anybody else? Mayor of Kingstown? Yeah. There you go. It's really good. So add it to your watch next list. All right. What kind of shooting do you like to do now?
I mostly like clays, sporting clays.
Sporting clays.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So Seinfeld's been in the news lately, right? He has this new movie about Pop-Tarts.
I watched it yesterday.
Yeah. And then you can't escape the reruns on TV. But you were on Seinfeld. What's one thing that you could share about being on this historic show?
Well, I did 2 episodes of Seinfeld. The first one was the airport, and then the second one was a few years later. I did an episode called Race, and just how friendly they were to work with. Like Julie Louis-Dreyfus was so down to earth. And then I realized, oh, she's a billionaire. I guess when you're a billionaire, you can relax. You don't have to worry about where the rent or the mortgage is coming from.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, let's see. Okay, so let's get into your history. You're a Hollywood guy. You're in entertainment, and then also you're a gun guy. Could you just start off with your experience growing up? What was it like with guns?
Well, when I grew up in Compton. We moved there in 1969. We're the second black family on our street. By 74, all the white families had moved out, and the Robinsons moved in, and they were all bloods. There's 7 brothers, 3 sisters, all of them gangbangers.
Wow.
And so that was I had never even heard of a gang until then, and then really guns were not part of my life until about 35.
Okay.
35. I got invited to a sporting clays event.
Okay.
And loved it. And then I needed a bigger safe.
Nice.
It's like, okay, now I'm gonna have to get a house that has a room like this size.
Wow.
Because
That's a
my collection is growing.
That's awesome. Awesome. Is there okay, so you collect. Is there one that you have your eye on other than that Deagle that you were just talking about?
Man, there's a couple, but that's Caesar Guarini, their stuff. Like I have what is it? My over under is what I like to shoot, and when you crack it open, it's nice. Caesar Guarini goes,
It's a whole different experience.
It's a whole different experience, and the balance on it is awesome, and but I can't justify it,
Yeah.
I got a 13-year-old daughter, so she likes to eat every day.
Got to keep them fed, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so Compton's a pretty controversial area. A lot of historic events happening there. But like as you were growing up, like what was your experience? What was your relationship to it?
Well, see,
or is it just
the media made it more than it is?
okay?
You know what I mean? Because like just like here in San Diego, this block is good. You go 4 or 5 blocks that way, and you're in a bad neighborhood. And it's the same. It's the same thing in Compton.
Yeah.
But I think because the media made such a big deal out of stuff.
Yeah.
That is what made it notorious.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Like next door was Long Beach, right?
Yeah.
And Long Beach on a couple of occasions has been the murder capital of the world. Compton never had that distinction.
Wow. All right. So you mentioned that you really got into it.
Yeah.
When somebody invited you out to sporting clays.
Yeah.
So could you describe what your journey's been like since then?
Well, after that, Thomas Hughes. I don't know if you know Thomas. He used to be Secret Service.
Okay.
and he then became sort of an event coordinator for the NRA, and he invited me to a speed shoot at the Bianchi Cup.
Nice.
And so, of course, I said yes, and then I had to learn how to do it.
There you go.
And so I went over
Jump on in.
I went over to P2K range and hung out with Susan Sledge, and she helped me get fast. And then one of my Navy SEAL friends helped me get faster.
Nice.
And went in and had a great time. It was fun to do. And then the second year I went, or the third year I went, I ended up with a little medal.
Nice.
So
there you go.
You know, don't be impressed though, because nobody there was.
Okay, so that's how you got into competition shooting?
Yeah.
Okay, then how often would you go out and compete or?
Really, just the Bianchi Cup every year.
Oh yeah,
I did that
okay.
for like 5 years in a row.
That's solid.
Yeah, just because I love hanging out with those guys, like Doug Koenig won it 15 years in a row. In 1 year, out of a possible 188 bullseyes, he had 182.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, holy mackerel.
That's not human.
You know, even when I eat, I don't even hit my mouth 182 times in a row. Yes.
That's awesome. All right.
So let's get into a little bit about the dichotomy between like Hollywood and like guns, right? Or the perception, right? So a lot of people when they're into firearms or if they're in the industry, they're often hush hush about it, right? I know a manufacturer who produces parts, but then when he told me when he goes to his kids' soccer games and meets all the other soccer parents, he just tells them that I just work in manufacturing. He just leaves it at that, and it's like he doesn't tell them that he makes parts for handguns and rifles and such. And they're here in San Diego too, right? So can you share have you ever had any positive or negative experiences when you encounter people in the entertainment side of things? Like, oh,
You like guns.
Well, my first Sporting Clays event was an event that was produced by Patrick Kilpatrick, who works a lot. He's usually the bad guy in some movies, and so it was a celebrity event, and it was basically all celebrities, and for a charity, so people would pay to shoot with a celebrity.
Oh, nice.
And so that was a positive event in a way because this is the first time I'd seen celebrities and firearms, and that weren't afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've never really had a negative experience from it, but here's the thing about negativity.
Right.
People, in general, are afraid of what they don't understand or what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So they tend to jump on the bandwagon.
Fear of the unknown.
And and I would venture to say that most people who are vehemently against firearms have never shot.
Yeah. That's they just don't know. They haven't tried it.
Right, exactly. Because I've taken many people to the range, and after their experience, they were like, "Oh, this is not what I thought it was." Yeah. And I think education is important in that it'll open people's mind.
Right.
Because I'll tell you right now, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
100%. 100%. Absolutely.
Wait, I'm sorry. Doesn't he look like Aaron Rodgers?
You know,
Do you?
yeah.
I was about to say, how's that Achilles?
Yeah, I was thinking. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, is that Aaron Rodgers? It's like that's so cool at the gun show. But yeah, yes. All right. So it sounds like like a normal course of business. It's not that much of a thing when if people find out that you like it, you're into it. So it's just,
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
I post
it's like a
pictures of me shooting
yeah.
sometimes and videos, and nobody has ever said anything to me about it.
Okay.
It has never been
Good.
an issue.
It's non-factor.
Well, I take that back. I had one person, and But I was like, well, you don't have to follow me.
Yeah. They just
You
follow
don't like the
to-
content, just
Yeah.
click away.
Yeah. Oh, so they just follow you to
Well,
complain
well-
about you, or
Well, yeah, it's like they look at a post and then go, I hate this. So, okay, well, why are you here?
yeah, yeah.
Because this
You
week
can
you're going to
fix
see
that.
a lot of it.
All right.
And just because you said you hate it, you're going to see
Yeah.
even more of it.
Absolutely. So awesome. So let's get into the comedy side of things, right? So comedians, you know, especially in this day and age,
Yeah.
you know, they kind of occupy a role as the truth tellers, right? They're making fun of all the weird stuff, all the hypocrisy that they see out in politics, in media, controversial topics, right? Religion, sex, like, you know, the best stuff is like the controversial stuff,
Right.
right? And guns are pretty controversial. If you look at like the comedy sets, if you do a search on them, there's plenty of sets out there that you could find on gun control that advocating against it. But then you don't find as much that are pro Second Amendment type sets. What's your opinion? Why do you think that might be?
Once again, it's education. I think
Yeah.
like when we do a show called Guns and Grins at P2K Range,
Yeah.
and most of the comics that came out to shoot had never shot before.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the education. It's like comics that haven't shot don't have anything good to say about it because they don't know. Right? But every comic that came through to do the show, the ones, especially the ones who came early to shoot,
Oh, nice. Okay.
they definitely walked away with a different mindset.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell the people what Guns and Grins or Grins and which
Guns
one was
and
it?
Guns and Grins.
Yeah. When I started talking with Mark, he was telling me about this event that he used to do at P2K, and I was like blown away. I was like, "This sounds awesome! How come you're not still doing it?" Right? And
Yeah.
So could you explain to?
Well, so
what
Guns
that
and
is?
Grins is basically a comedy show that you would go to see at any comedy club. It's like there's a host and 3 comics.
Yeah.
And during the winter, we do it inside on the 100-yard rifle range. We set up a stage. We have pictures of the comics as the backdrop
Yeah.
with their targets.
Yeah.
And then and at the end of the show, you know, because P2K is a nonprofit,
Yeah.
we raffle those off, you know, to help P2K out. And then during the summer, we do it outside on the sporting clays paddock.
Nice.
And so behind you, you have all those busted clays on the hillside. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, we did it. At first, we were doing 4 shows a year, and then you know, they had a problem with this neighbor that bought a house over a rock quarry and a gun range. He had a problem with the noise. It's like, when you bought the house, did you see the rock quarry? And so he spent a year contacting every, you know, city and county agency that he could to try to get a cease and desist from the gun range. But he wasn't bothering the rock quarry, which was really odd to me because you know, they have explosions
consistent, no?
every week.
Yeah.
So then we cut down to like twice a year, and then once a year because they were spending so much money, you know, trying to come into compliance with some 1970s
Oh wow.
plans.
Okay.
And so now that they've gotten past that, we're going to try to get back into it.
Nice. All right. Well, definitely keep us in the loop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's get back into a little bit of your career, right? So, one of the notable experiences that you had was you got to be in Terminator 2, right? Can you share a story about your experience working with Arnold and Sarah Connors and?
Yeah, Arnold was really funny to work with. First of all, let me say this about that.
Yeah.
I went to USC on a debate scholarship, and in my head, I was going to be a lawyer, and so I took a voice class for speaking and centering, and he says, well, you can't pass the class unless you do 2 monologues and 2 songs. And after I did that, then he talked me to auditioning for the Bachelor of Fine Arts acting program at USC, and I got in. I was already a junior, and so they said, we'll put you, it's a 4-year program, we'll put you in as a sophomore, and you know, we teach you to be a working actor. and I started working the same year professionally. So when I graduated, I mean, literally every month something would come up. I was getting a job every month. And then I graduated, and all of a sudden I went to the Bay Area and did a show with the San Francisco Mime Troupe and came home. And then all of a sudden I didn't have a job. And I was like, So then I started doing more and more comedy. And 5 years after I graduated, all my friends who were on the debate team were clerking for judges, or they were working at major law firms. I was like, and I had like a 3-month period where I didn't have a job. And I was like, man, I gotta find something to do. and this is where I think God puts you where he wants you to be. I saw an ad in the paper. It said, learn to deal cards. I was like, okay, maybe I could do that. So you audit the class. It's $499 if you like it. You pay your money, and they teach you how to deal cards. So I go audit the class. I'm sitting there. Before the first break, suits come in, shut the class down.
Oh, man.
And apparently they had been laundering money through this class.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
And a week later, I get a call from the wardrobe designer for Terminator 2 saying, hey, I need your sizes. And I was like, what's this for? Because I hadn't had an audition in 3 months.
Yeah.
She goes, Terminator 2. I was like, oh. So I called my agent and said, hey, I just had a call with the wardrobe designer for Terminator 2. They go, yeah, we're on the phone with him right now. So I was supposed to work 2 days. And they said, we'll make it a week just in case it bleeds over a day or two. And 6 weeks later, I was still there.
Wow.
So I ended up working 6 weeks on Terminator 2. James Cameron was great. He'd come to me and say, hey, what would you say right here? And I'd say something. He'd say, yeah, come on. And then I went back and did a couple of weeks of pickup shots, and then went back and did a couple of weeks of looping. So this 2-day job turned into the biggest job of my career at that point, and everything started snowballing after that. After that credit hit my resume, then all of a sudden I was working a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah. What was the follow up after T2?
I don't remember because there was a lot of stuff that
just
kept coming. Yeah.
Awesome. So not a lot of people have worked on NBC hit show. NBC's Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
You had a recurring role as Big Mike. Is there a story or two that what was that like being on? I mean, it was during that time frame. It was like must see TV, right? And so if you were on a sitcom on NBC, that was pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was more of a dramedy.
Yeah.
Because we shot single camera, so we shot it like a film. So it took 8 days to shoot one episode.
Oh, wow.
And whereas sitcom, you go in Monday through Friday, and table read, rehearsal, camera block, and then you shoot on Friday. But with Chuck, we shot like a movie, so it was based on location. So if there's 4 scenes in the Buy More, chances are we're going to shoot those in two or 3 days and get all those scenes shot. But it was fun being on the show because we were a big cast to start with. It's like there were 10 series regulars.
Right.
And then we, I would come from here, and if I knew I had to stay, I'd stay for however many days they needed me. Over the period of the show, we did 5 seasons. And over the 5 seasons, I only did every day of the shoot twice. And those were Christmas episodes, where one was 3D, which was very tedious, and I don't care to ever have to do that again.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna pay, I'll show up. And but it was a lot of fun doing the show, and I think the brilliance of the writers is like they got to a point where they knew how to write for you. Like when I first auditioned, I auditioned for the character Harry Tang.
Okay.
And they liked me, so Josh Schwartz wrote the character Big Mike for me. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And how long did that?
5 seasons.
5 seasons.
Yeah.
All right. That's
So
awesome.
we went from 2007 to 2012.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Christmas though. Now one of your recent projects has to do with Christmas, and then can you share a little bit about? Was it the one where you were
Bringing Back Christmas.
Bringing Back Christmas,
Yeah.
and then you were the lead in
Yeah.
that one as well too.
Yeah, and in fact, we're going
So-
to do a re-release in November, theater release, because they only released it streaming.
Okay.
last
It's
year.
going to go in
So
theaters.
we're
That's
gonna
exciting.
we'll do like a pay-per-view, behind the scenes, red carpet, and then screen it pay-per-view,
Yeah.
and it'll go into theaters as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was that project like?
The most fun I've had on a project my entire career. And it started with the writers. You know, it's a faith-based film
Right.
to start with. And they prayed before every day we shot. It's like in the morning they would pray.
Yeah.
But the people were so kind, and it rolls downhill.
Yeah.
Like I've been in theater sometimes. Yeah, I won't name names, but the guy at the top, the artistic director, was kind of a jackass, and it made everybody below him kind of be that way.
Oh.
And sometimes you see it when
Establishes
you're
the
working in
culture.
film and television as well. Exactly.
Yeah.
But there was nothing but love on that set. It's like we shot the whole film in 16 days, and we were in Texas, and it was in July. So
it gets
record-breaking
hot.
heat every
gets
day,
hot.
and I'm wearing like this thick Christmas sweater,
Oh man.
and just pouring sweat between scenes. I felt bad for wardrobe and makeup because I am pouring sweat. I sweat normally, just that I sweat tying my shoes. That's how, and I felt so bad. But there was this one PA who, after every take, she'd come and wrap a cold towel around my neck and hand me like electrolytes and it was such a great experience that, you know, I told him, I said, you know, I'm willing to be your John Ratzenberger, because Ratzenberger is in all of the Pixar stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so they're like, well, we've already decided that you're going to be in our next 4 films. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
So there's gonna be like a space odyssey, and then what else?
I'm just waiting for them to finish their funding. They're
Yeah.
close right now, and then we'll probably start one in July or August.
Oh, that's awesome. So actually, that's really interesting also too. So I noticed, like, it seems like your more recent works, it's a lot of faith-based films and pure flicks, like, you know, trying to put out stories with a really positive and family-friendly atmosphere versus, you know, a lot of the top shows. It's really salacious, really just you know, it's you know, but how is it working on that side of the entertainment industry, and then what do you see as happening? You know, it seems like there's momentum building.
Well, I
know,
think
behind it, right?
the networks and the major studios have seen that in the faith-based industry, you know, there are good stories to tell, and there are stories to tell that doesn't have to be salacious, and that can be family friendly, and I kind of like it, you know, and I haven't really sought it out. It sort of came to me. You know, I worked I did an episode of the 700 Club, and the makeup artist asked me if I knew David A.R. White, who used to own Pure Flix.
Okay.
And I said no. She says, "Oh, I'll make an introduction." So she shot him a message on Twitter, and then he shot me a message back and said, "Hey, who's your agent?" And so I told him, and then the next week he put me in a film.
Wow. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. And then about a year after, he said, "Hey, you still have the same agent?" I was like, "Yeah." So then he put me in a sitcom.
Oh, which one?
It was called Malibu Dan. So
Okay.
we did 4 episodes of Malibu Dan the first season, and then second season I think I did 5. And and that was sort of the beginning of the faith-based stuff for me. You know, people started coming to me at that point.
That's awesome.
And it's nice when you don't have to jump through the hoops, because that's the hardest part of it. It's like getting the job is the worst part of it. You
Yeah.
know, doing the auditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So, bringing it back to the gun side, right? Not a lot of actors are really vocal about the Second Amendment, or, you know, they make a lot of. You know, there's actors that make a lot of money using firearms in their films. But they're very, you don't see them advocating for the Second Amendment. But you're here, you're having this talk at the Gun Owners Symposium, which we really appreciate. Thank you. What called you? It's like, you know what, I want to. You're a busy guy, and I'm going to spend some time here talking to the folks at the Gun Owners Symposium.
Well, you asked me to come.
Well, yeah, there's that. It's like, you know what?
But I mean, for me, it's like education is everything.
Yeah.
You know, my English teacher got me involved in speech and debate, and put me in my first play.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for her, my career wouldn't be what it is today.
Right.
So every time I had a milestone in my career, I would call her and tell her what it was.
Yeah.
You know, and,
nice.
and all the way up until we buried her a few years ago. And she really sort of shaped what my life has become. And I think, you know, it goes back to education. It's like I think the more people know about what they don't know, the easier it is for them to stomach stuff, right? Like we were talking about comics and, you know, being the eyes on the world,
Right.
but they're scared to talk now because
Yeah.
because we have become a nation of sissies. It's like we are so afraid that somebody is infringing upon my beliefs because somebody told a joke about it.
Right.
You know, and they miss the whole point of the joke. Sometimes the joke is just pointing out a problem, not pointing out you. You know, so we have to sort of be just open-minded and learn to laugh at ourselves. You know, it's like if we can't laugh at ourselves, then
Yeah.
what is life?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Can't take yourself too seriously.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I go to my mother's house. You know, no matter what my accomplishments are, she tells me to empty the trash. I don't even live here. Yeah, get that trash.
Well, there you go. All right, that one resonated.
Don't give her any idea.
Hey, you are the
Just wait
trash
for
guy
it.
forever.
Just wait for it. All right. So comedy. So where can people hear you, find you nowadays? You know, if there's something that you're really passionate about right now, where can people find that?
Easiest way to find me is just Google me, and then go to markchristopherlawrence.com and go down to the bottom and follow me on social media. I post, you know, all the time when I'm getting ready to do a show somewhere. I'm in town a lot. I work here in San Diego a lot. Mic Drop quarterly. I'm there. I do Tuesday night comics at North Coast Repertory Theaters 6 times a year. So we're always in town doing comedy. The Tuesday night comic show is hard to get in, so you get the next one is July 23rd, I think. Get your tickets immediately because it sells out fast. Mic Drop, I'm there on July 18th, so you can get tickets for that show. It seats 220. So there should be tickets left for that. I don't even know if it's up yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So easy to find me, Mark Christopher Lawrence.
There
Follow
you
me.
go. All right.
And if you want to go out and shoot, I'll go.
Oh, there you go. All right. We'll have to set up a fun shoot,
Yeah.
you know, or a clay shoot.
Yeah.
There you go.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then follow up with a comedy show.
We can find. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. So, all right. Everybody, could you we're going to do questions.
Sure.
Just to give them a round of applause for joining us here. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So just open it up to audience questions. What kind of questions do you have for Mr. MCL?
Got one in the back.
Well, so we were talking before. I say I'm a fan of comedy and everything. So I'm curious, who are some of your favorite comedians?
My style of comedy is storytelling, so I like the storytellers. You know, I like Gaffigan, I like Cosby, I like Richard Pryor. So the guys that tell stories, one of my favorites is Brian Regan.
Yeah.
You know, Dustin Nickerson, who's local here, he's very, very funny. I remember when he was an opener, and now he is hard to follow. In fact, I'm opening for him on the 16th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
There you go.
he has become a beast.
All right. Question.
What would you recommend for a beginner shooter? Just any tip for a gun or caliber or just anything.
Oh, there you go. What's your best tip for a newbie?
Go to the range and get some instruction. You know, like if you go to P2K, Susan will go in there and give you some tips and show you what to do. I think a lot of times where people make a mistake is they go in and just start shooting without anybody that know anything about shooting with them. And one, it's dangerous. And two, you want to be competent and confident. You know, it's like you know, God forbid I ever have to draw my conceal. You know, but if I ever do, I'll know that I'm going to be accurate and I'm going to be competent and confident. You know, better have it, not need it, than need it, not have it.
Exactly. All right. Some other questions? Elliot.
So I know that Hollywood's a closed-knit community, right? And there might be some folks that they don't like to let their true ideology get out there, you know, from being ostracized or something. Have any of those folks though reached out to you, you know, under the covers to say, hey, can you help me learn how to shoot? Can you take me to the range? Give me some tips, something like that.
I've had a couple of people that wanted to go to the range with me, and you know, I took them to the range, and it really opened their mind about shooting and about firearms. But not a lot, but about 3 or 4 people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if you were in the situation of Rust right now?
Rust?
Right, what's going on with that?
Baldwin.
The shooter.
Oh.
the
Yeah.
shooter.
I mean, how would you manage that?
Well, one.
So having knowledge of weapons going into that,
Yeah.
I would have checked.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with that whole situation. There is a chain of custody on firearms on sets. And the 2 big problems that happened was the guy who was hired to be the armorer didn't do it. He brought his daughter and let her do it. And apparently they started shooting those firearms after hours. And the next day, the AD, which is the assistant director, trying to move the scenes along, just grabs the firearm and gives it to him. She should have had it, checked it, showed him it was clear, showed him a magazine with snap caps, so
Did it
that
look the same?
what, snap caps?
Yeah.
I mean, they're colorful, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're
The
colorful.
dummy,
So
dummy
regular
rounds.
snap
Yeah.
cap, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that everybody on set, you stop all the production. You say, okay, hold, safety meeting. And then they show everybody that the firearm is not loaded. And then you go. So,
You being knowledgeable, you would see a potential, hey, I'm gonna check snap cap, oh, this is not a snap cap, stop. Compared to somebody who's not,
exactly.
okay.
And I would never point it at anybody. That was his mistake.
Even in a movie?
Well, in the movie, it's like even when I'm using firearms, and I used it a lot in there was a movie with Stephen Baldwin, Lost Treasure, and even when I'm pointing at you, I'm really pointing it past you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like just don't point it at people.
Yeah. All right. Russ.
When and why did obscenity replace humor in comedy?
I don't know. I think, I mean, it's always been there. Obscenity has always been there, but the greats, you know, didn't use obscenity as the joke. You know, like you look at Carlin, you know, if he cursed, it enhanced the joke. Richard Pryor, you know, it was a character that cursed. It wasn't really him usually. But I think when Eddie Murphy did Raw, which was really funny, I think a lot of young comics looked at that and went, oh yeah, I'm gonna be like him, and just started dropping F-bombs for the sake of it. So I was doing a show before Mic Drop became a thing. It was Comedy Palace, and it was supposed to be a clean show, and this kid that went on right before me started dropping so many F-bombs, I started counting them.
Wow.
And by the time he finished his 10-minute set, I had counted 40.
Wow.
So I went up and I did my church clean set to just show him that you don't have to do what you did. And standing O. And I said to him, I said, you probably could have had another 2 minutes of jokes had you not dropped 40 F-bombs. And really it was more like 50 or 60.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions? One more question?
I have a brother who's getting into guns a little bit. I'm training him up a little bit. He's also getting into acting. And he's starting with the Instagram, and he's like, I don't know if I should follow this person or that person because I'm afraid that, people to see who I'm following and.
Tell him to follow anybody and let anybody follow him, because the industry has moved to social media numbers. So like early in my career, my resume got me into any comedy club in the country. Just based on the TV that I've done, the films I've done, and the clubs that I played in. And now the first thing they ask you is, what's your social media like? And I'm late to the game, so now I'm like trying to find teenagers to hey, make my social media better. So tell him build his social media. Tell him don't be afraid of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, I think that's it. Ready for some prizes?
Yeah.
All right. First off, give Mark.
How can we help you